Good morning, everyone. I am Shashwati from the e-vidyaloka trust team. A very warm welcome to all our wonderful volunteers joining us from different parts of the country and across the globe. We are delighted to host the monthly Elevate webinar series for the academic year 25-26, continuing our mission to bring meaningful learning opportunities to our volunteers every month. On behalf of e-vidyaloka, I extend my heartfelt thanks to each of one of you for being here today and for your continued dedication to transforming education for rural children. On this special occasion of National Science Day, it's now my pleasure to invite our speaker today, Minal Butch. Meenal is a bioscientist with a deep passion for educational and innovative teaching practice. She has over 15 years of experience teaching science at the secondary level, having taught in India, Oman, Qatar, and the UK. Currently, she teaches Apple Bioscience to undergraduate students at the university in the UK. This is her seventh year with eVidyaloka, and she has been honored with Volunteering Champion Awards in recognition of her dedication to volunteering. Many of you may have attended her previous webinar on different strategy in teaching. In today's session, Minal will share practical strategy to make learning accessible for all students to help you create a truly power packed virtual classroom. We will learn how to use step by step learning approach to breaking lesson into small manageable parts so students don't feel overwhelmed. We will also explore way to simplify abstract concept using real life example and case studies to make learning more relatable and meaningful. Finally, we will understand how to use short learning checks during classes to assess understanding and clarify doubts instantly. This session will offer simple, practical strategies that you can apply to in your online classes to make learning more accessible and effective for all students. Thank you once again for being here. Over to you, Mina.
Thank you, Shashwati. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for an elaborate introduction. It's a pleasure, and thank you to eVidyaloka as well for this opportunity. Always a pleasure when it comes to talking about classroom teaching strategies, teaching learning, simplifying concepts, etc. As Shashwati said, my background is in science, but I've consciously tried to include examples from different areas so I've included concepts in maths, some literacy, science, and so on. So,
Sorry, Minal, you are on mute. Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
check. Okay. Were you able to hear me earlier?
Yeah, we heard,
Okay.
but for a second. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I was just saying, ever since COVID, we have, everything going online. There is a whole sort of host of resources online, to an extent where it gets a bit confusing even for the tutors. There are so many resources in terms of audio, visual, images, and now we have our chat GPT and so on. It can get a bit confusing as an educator as well. I've felt that myself. So can imagine for students, for a learner who are learning the concept for the first time, who are coming across a vocabulary, maybe 2 or 3 new words for the first time, it can get quite overwhelming. So the aim today is to just look at a few simple strategies to look at how can we make it accessible. How can every student in a classroom, especially if it's a large classroom, how can they all make sense of what we're teaching, and take home some learning rather than resort to rote learning or having to memorize or just doing homework for the sake of it, So hopefully I will be able to cover that, going through some simple strategies. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to start with some barriers in learning. Learning is a complex process. And the aim for today's webinar is, as we go through, now I don't want it to be like information transfer in terms of, just a slideshow. I'd like you to be a participant in what you could then try out within your classrooms. Okay. Within e-vidyaloka, I've had classrooms which had like 3 or 4 students, especially during COVID. And currently I teach at a school in Uttar Pradesh, with a fairly big, almost 35, 40 students, but then there are classes which are larger as well. So looking at barriers, so there is a whole range of it. I'll just touch upon a few. Cognitive, for instance, just difficulty to just understand the concept. So conceptual understanding. And I've seen this in science, something which could seem simpler whilst explaining, but for a learner who's going through it for the first time, could be quite overwhelming. And then also, we have issues with concentration, or there might be students who are learning differently, so differently abled students. Critical analysis, critical thinking skills may be not quite there. So cognitive barriers, emotional barriers. So, anyone who's constantly, say, for example, fearing failure, worried about exams, or just low self-confidence, anxiety, and so on. Then psychological. So again, similar emotional, psychological barriers. Environmental. I've seen this, and you might have experienced this as well. Some of the teaching environments not quite ideal. There could be of an event going on outside the classroom. It could be a bit noisy. Maybe the study space is not ideal. The lighting is not, these things do matter. And, right now, before the webinar started, I was just ensuring that I've got a quiet space to deliver this through, because you don't want distractions, or, and likewise for learning as well. Physical, in the sense, for instance, if a student is visually or auditory or hearing issues, so challenged in terms of how loud do they hear, do they need to be sat in the front, do they have some sort of an illness, not feeling too well, and that's why they're not able to concentrate, any such thing. Social, cultural barriers, to include, it could be peer pressure, parental pressure, cultural expectations, gender stereotypes. There's so many of these. Language, what if they just, it's a lesson in English and they're just struggling to get those simple, basic words in English. Or Hindi, I've been teaching in Hindi. What if the spoken language at home, the dialect is different from what the textbook says? What if their reading and vocabulary skills are not up to the mark, and so on? And then there's always economic barriers. So no access to textbook, technology, or we have our tech issues with internet, etc. Just to name a few, these are some of the barriers. And every time we deliver a lesson, we may not constantly be aware, but the learners do, go through these or face these barriers. So how can we try and simplify this? How can we make it easier? I have this, I came across this particular visual. This is one of my favorite ones. And it talks about 3 things. So equality, equity, and inclusion, quite simply explained through this visual. As you can see, equality is just making it equal for everyone. Everyone benefits from the same support. You give the same worksheet to everyone. You use the same speed of video that you're playing in the classroom for everyone. So everyone's got the same opportunity. However, is that helping everyone? Is everyone equal in a class? There's a student who's stressed because of something, who's not good with, or who's still quite down there in the language ladder, etc., etc. So equality may not always address an issue, isn't it? It's it's about, so moving on to equity, where yes, we're making it equal, but we are customizing, we are offering this custom made approach. A student, yes, we do all doing a worksheet on water cycle, but what if one student who's quite, is learning faster, who's already learned about this earlier, has got better cognitive skills, just finishes the worksheet in 2 minutes, and there's another student who is still just getting started with spelling water cycle. So that's where we bring in equity and try and ensure that everyone's challenged at the same level, and no one's getting bored and no one's feeling overwhelmed, isn't it? So equity. And then even better, moving further, is inclusion. So we just remove the barrier. Whatever is causing this difference, we remove the barrier. For example, is it, let's say, the, we have these visual, the what do you call, the screens on which, through which we all teach. Is it that maybe the image is blurred, maybe it's not clear? Is it that a student is sitting right at the back, is not able to hear properly? What is it, that it's always noisy outside the classroom? Can we address that first? So including everyone. Okay, so removing barriers through various ways, and ideally customizing our approach. So we can, you can just pick a topic you may be teaching, you've recently taught, or you are planning to teach next week, and think about, how can I make it more inclusive, how can I make it more customized, and as a part of that, it takes me to this. You might, if you can scan this, great. um, Otherwise, if you go on to menti.com and just enter the code, um, and then there is a question, just input your answers as to what barriers do you come across in your day-to-day teaching. There's always one or the other things. I'll give you a few minutes to do this, and I'll share the responses here as well. So let me go on to, let me know in chat if you cannot access this, or any issue with accessing the question. But this platform that I'm using, menti.com, is something you can also use in your classroom. And okay, ideally, it would be great if students have their own laptops and they can type their responses. Great. I know we have a different environment, so that's okay. We can type their responses, and as they call out their answers, we can type up on their behalf. And, or, this slide is about it's a word cloud. It just populates the screen with the words, the inputs that you include. So if you could just take a couple of minutes to just write one word. Okay, what barrier do you see? Is it okay? I'm going to share this screen so you can all see what I'm looking at, which means we'll share. So I might have to stop sharing this and then go back to stop share, and then share my screen with okay, here you go. So hopefully you can see my screen, and Shashwati, you can see my screen, right? With all the inputs.
It's loading.
It's loading, okay.
Yeah, now it came.
Brilliant. So excellent. I mean, this is brilliant. So, and I completely agree with each one of you. So skill levels, yes, and that's this anxiety. What if I fail? Because our students have quite a tremendous exam pressure, stress, and sometimes that masks their actual learning, their skill level. it's just the anxiety pulls them down. Language, absolutely. And yeah, connectivity, tech issues, audio, stage fear. Yeah, I have this big class. The previous one was quite big as well. It was difficult to understand, to customize it for each child. So I started calling them towards the front and said, okay, can you write this? Hold your book, show me, or just share one line. I was teaching this program, Joy of Reading. So I said, okay, I'm going to start a sentence, an opener for a story. You tell me the next line. And then another student continues the story with another line. And we just made like a hodgepodge of a story, which is quite funny. But stage fear, not everyone. There are some who will want to do it again and again. But there is a bunch of students, who will sort of hesitate. They might be full of ideas, but stage fear, network issues, just understanding the instructions. Maybe there's a style. I mean, I've said, I've given my instructions saying, this is what I want you to do. I will start an opener sentence and I want you to continue. What if a child has just not followed the instructions? It's just sat there thinking, what am I supposed to do? So we don't even realize sometimes, and there are these issues of technological lights and network. Yes, absolutely. There has been a class where the light comes from the back. I can't see any of their faces. So how do we work around that? And this platform, I don't, if you might have used Mentimeter before, but you haven't. Network issue is a bigger font because more people have opted for that. So more of your answers. So as the frequency goes up, the font gets bigger. So the platform I'm sharing is also a way to share some of the tools you could use whilst teaching. So, we could use this in classroom Mentimeter. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this. This was absolutely brilliant. Thank you for your inputs. And I will go back to my slides.
Manish is asking, Minal, students don't involve in online classes, so how to get them involved?
Uh, so I think if you don't mind, if we maybe have 5 or 10 minutes towards the end for questions, because maybe I'm
Sure.
thinking I might be answering it as I go through the slides already.
Yes, yes, yes.
So let's do that. And
Sure.
then so we'll save this question, Manish, and we'll come back to that towards the end, if that's okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so right now, so these are some of the barriers. Now, I think I'm going to skip the next one because it talks about challenges that they face. But I'm going to go to an example because I'm also mindful of time. Now, one thing is cognitive overload, cognitive as in conceptual. I'm going to share one example of science. I'll share one from maths and so on. But let's say teaching the water cycle. Um, what do you think is wrong? Let's say I'm introducing this to the student. This is my slide. I've got all the keywords. I've got a beautiful diagrams, very pretty. And I'm going to start teaching. And on my slides, I have, PowerPoints, typical, phrases, sentences, concepts coming in one after the other. Do you want to go on to the same, so scan this code or stay on the same Menti and then go on to the next I think it's the third slide, which talks about what do you think is the cognitive overload? What is conceptually challenging? I, as a student, let's say, am being introduced to water cycle for the first time. I have no idea what a water cycle is. Maybe, I don't know, class 3, 4. And this picture comes up. It's nice, it's colorful. And then the teacher starts asking, okay, so what is the process where the water moves from the sea to the forms clouds? And I'm still trying to look at the picture and what are all these words? Okay, so I'll go on to the Menti, but I'll share if I've got inputs coming in. It's good to see other people's inputs, and then sometimes it just makes you think, oh, yeah, this is something which I was thinking of as well. So yeah, which part of this is a multiple choice one where I am actually going to share that screen. So sorry, I'll be jumping between screen sharing, but I'm trying to share tools which you can use in your teaching practice. So it's loading now. So some of the options are too much vocabulary. Okay, two people have said that. And also, mind you, this is anonymized. Your names, I don't know who said what. Okay. This is in a situation where you want the students to be more confident and not worried about, oh, what if my answer is wrong? Okay, so too much vocabulary, too many okay, in this case it's just a slide, but what if I then play a video on an animation, and then I expect them to explain to me, okay, after 5 minutes teaching this, I say, okay, tell me, define water cycle. If I was a student, I would not be very confident. I would be a little bit hesitant, isn't it? So what can we do? This is the whole, yeah, and fast paced as well. Everyone would be learning at a different pace, isn't it? So again, yes. So independent explanation too early. By that I mean I'm expecting them to explain back to me what I just taught. So it's just being mindful of these things. Going back to the slides again. Here. Okay. So you're right, absolutely. Each one of you, what you said, I completely agree with that. And as you see here, what was happening is there is a detailed scientific diagram. Yeah, it's nice. But if I'm playing a video with it, adding too many sensory inputs, I'm giving them a worksheet because I want it to be a perfect lesson. So I've got the worksheets, I've got animations, I've got videos, asking them to copy the definitions. Oh, look, make your notes. And students will do that. They want it for their exams. So they'll be like furiously, I have experienced this. When I'm trying to teach something, and this is with the higher, maybe year 9, 10, and this, can we have notes? What's the definition? And they're just focused on writing those definitions. Are they even understanding it? Okay. Do they understand what is condensation? I'm giving an example in English. It could be your PowerPoint in Hindi. It's just a language thing, but so many new words all at once. So that's going to throw off most of the students. Some might ask, many will not ask, because our education system, we're just so used at passively learning. The teacher is saying must be 100% right. I cannot question the teacher. So then as an educator, our responsibility is massive to ensure they are understanding it, isn't it? So how can we, make this easier? So here the risk is either they may forget the information in the next few minutes, they're confused with all these terminologies, they might copy, they've got the rote learning. So we are promoting rote learning or memorizing, or they might be frustrated, and then the engagement issue. We could have a whole different webinar on engagement. And we have had one in the past, isn't it? So disengaged students, and then a whole lot of other issues. There's more lack of discipline, and learning is diluted, and so on. So this leads to something which is known as chunking. Chop it down into smaller pieces. Okay, I want to talk about the water cycle. First thing, draw. The bit on the top, it says draw rather than ready-made slides. It's easy. I've got, I'm doing that right now. This webinar will also show you what not to do. So rather than having slides after slides, sometimes what I do is I just open a paint, nothing fancy. You can use the My View board. Mariam did a webinar on this earlier, I think, and we looked at it last year, I think. But My View board is a wonderful tool. But if you want to keep it simple, maybe just open a paint or Microsoft Word if you've got the draw tools on it. And then what I've got is I've just got a little tablet, or you can just use the draw tool on the screen. It's a bit fiddly. I got a small, just a bit bigger than the mobile, USB plug-in. It comes with a magnetic pen, and then you just write, draw. By draw, I mean if you are showing how to spell a word in Hindi, just the writing part of it, or have this diagram on your paint, copy paste, annotate without any labels at the start, just a blank diagram with a mountain, a sea, land, da da da, and then annotate. Water is evaporating, the sun is shining, high temperature. That will slow down the pace. Students will be able to connect in smaller steps, like one step after the other. So annotating as you go. Do not bring in all the words in one go. Just break it down. If you have a diagram like this, you can just hide these with text, those shapes, like insert a shape, hide these words, and just animate them to disappear. And you click on it, it disappears, you've introduced a new word. So just introducing new vocabulary slowly, and then keep checking if they've understood it through quizzes, through worksheet, actions, what is happening during evaporation, the water is, so they can, if it's a younger group, they can just enact showing how the water is moving up, condensation, clouds are forming, precipitation, etc., etc. Think, pair, share is another. Give them a few minutes to just think about what do you think is happening in this diagram. No labels. 2 minutes to think. Then pair up with the person next to you and discuss. What do you think might be happening? Share each other's ideas. And then one of them volunteers to say, okay, we'll share with the rest of the class. This is what we think is happening. It takes away the pressure of the teacher asking. They're talking to their own, like their friend next to them, and just discussing, opening up with ideas, and then sharing. It works really well with younger, even I think even with upper primary, they quite like doing that. And then you always have the demo, audio visual. So we're breaking down the whole concept into bite-sized, smaller chunks. In maths, um, again, visually nice, colorful image, but too much information. There's some fractions with just like the circle is half, the square is 1/4. Uh, Students may be lost as to what is this supposed to mean? What am I taking away here? Or, and this, I used to do this a lot earlier. Beautiful pictures, animations, use multiple, like here, I've got all sorts of shapes. I've got a pizza, I've got a number line, and then trying to teach the same thing through different images. It's not consistent. One moment, the student's thinking, oh, hang on, are we looking at fractions on a square? Are we talking about a pizza? Is it a number line? What is all this? It's the same thing, but introduce very slowly. So one thing at a time, as in maybe introduce just one shape. Okay, just stay on the square. Square, nice and easy. Start, I think we're coming to that slide next. I'll come to that. So this is cognitive overload, and how, this is where the numerator, denominator is introduced at the same time. Models, all sorts of models, like I said, fraction bars, everything, equivalent fractions, improper, everything at the same time, mixed numbers. It's a lot for them to process, at least for some of them to process. It's a lot. It's okay if we stay on the same topic of what is a numerator for a full lesson. That's okay, as long as it makes sense and they're ready to move on to the next bit. So again, what might happen is students are confused with terminologies, classic misconception, 1/8 is bigger than 1/4 because, oh, there's an 8 there. Not understanding that it's in the denominator place. So, and then they start memorizing. When things don't make sense, you start memorizing. And then it's disengagement again. So, once again, how can we chunk this? Just start with one shape as a whole. This is a rectangle. This is a square. Then we start with, and every time just use that. It's not about which one's prettier or more colorful. It's about, are they getting the concept? A circle, rectangle, whatever. Then start with equal parts rather than jumping straight to, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to teach you how to teach maths. I'm just trying to say, how can we simplify this, right? Introducing in smaller chunks, that's the highlight. So show equal parts uh, before shading anything, and then going on to, what is equal sharing, maybe bring in a story. I'll come to that, case studies, but same shape, chunking into, sorry, dividing into fractions into smaller and smaller pieces. And it's just easier, it's just simpler. Obviously, if there's a student who is ready for an extension, you can have a separate worksheet, another task for them to move forward at a faster pace. But some strategies to ensure that they are engaged on the same shape and not thinking about different pictures which are not consistent. Okay, so that's about chunking. The next bit I wanted to go on to was mini plenaries. So, like right now, this is a webinar mode. It's meant to be that way. But if this was my class and I was teaching you, I'm just rambling on. I'm just going yap 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 yap, and I don't know if anyone is sat there with a question. I don't know if I'm actually able to convey what I'm trying to convey. So, in a classroom teaching scenario, we can't afford to do that, isn't it? So pause. 5 minutes of teaching, maybe 7 minutes. Check learning, check progress, mini plenaries, a quick quiz, maybe 2 question quiz. Maybe I've got this thing on my screen. Tell me if is it true or false. Traffic lights. Have you understood? Are you feeling confident? If you are, green. Hold up a green card. If you are so, yellow, amber. If you are very confused, if you want me to go over it again, red. Traffic lights. So mini plenaries. So we are addressing the misconception before it gets too late, and then we can nip it in the bud. Yeah. Various things, card sort. Can you quickly show me the structure of the heart as we looked at? Show me 3/4 on a rectangle. Quick one. Okay. And just to keep checking, has everyone got this? The classroom assistant can help us go around the class, check. You say, this is, we can share it with the classroom assistant. This is what I'm expecting. Has everyone got it? 1 sentence summary, something quick, but frequent, not leaving, not like an end of topic test. In between, during the lesson, quick check. Have you got it? Okay. Yeah, traffic light. Exit tickets is, okay, I will be using this towards the end of this webinar, but write about one thing I'm very confident about. Okay. Tell me one thing I think I need to revisit. One new thing I want to share. If you got an idea, okay, we've learned about forces. Do you want to share an example of forces at home today in school? Let them, come up with ideas. So exit tickets, like your final thoughts. So these mini plenaries, there are some tools I'd like to share here. One is Quizlet. You might have used these. I find them quite useful. Quizlet is, I'll bring up these words and then I'll go on to each one to show what it is. There are many, but I just, bearing in mind the time, I can share more later through I don't know, I can include in like a notes page or something, but Quizlet is one where what I'll do is I'll stop sharing this, go on to an example of how to use this Quizlet. So let's go to, this was the, sorry, not the Menti, that was the Menti one, excuse me. We're looking at, right, okay, got it. So we'll first look at Quizlet. I've got a lot of tabs open here. I'm just going to go on to here. This is Quizlet. Hopefully you can see my screen. Please ignore the AdWords on the side. But so here you could, when you go to Quizlet.com, and then there are a number of ready-made flashcards, quizzes. I searched in the search box, I just searched for solid, liquid, and gases. So it brought up, there are a number, you can just pick any one. And then these are flashcards. So what you can do is just ask them as a quiz. So what is a state of matter that is definite shape and volume? And then you click on it and it flips to say solid. And move on to the next one. And so on. So you can use it in any creative way you think would work for your class. You can use this as flashcards or a test, or matching a true or false. There's a number of ways in which this can be used. So Quizlet is something I'll let you explore. I thought I'd just introduce you to a tool which can be used to. So yeah, this is one of those. The other one on the this thing is, we looked at WordWall, right? WordWall is, have it open here. There you go. So WordWall is again a brilliant tool. So you can just Google WordWall water cycle. It brings up this whole range of label a diagram or match, true or false, etc. Let's say I'm going to click on this one, label a diagram. And on this side, on the right-hand side, you don't have to, when I click on start, you could, I know they don't have their own devices, but you could ask them one at a time. And then when they ask you to, they point, they just, it's not going to be as easy as them having their own devices. But I have in the past asked the students to describe where they want me to, connect this to. So something like that. Or you can change it to anagram, jumbled up words, or matching pairs, speaking cards, etc. So there's different ways in which the same thing could be explored, just to check understanding. The other thing I said was learning by questions, LBQ. Here it's free. These are all free sites, by the way. They all have a paid feature, but whatever is available as free is also great. Again, just pick any one. But there's all these subjects available here. And this is great because, let's say, I'm just going to go to plants. Just click on one. And then I'm going to click on parts of plants and their functions, for example. And on this side, you see teach. Click on teach. And it brings up this. It's learning by questions. So we are not giving them a whole lot of information, but we learn. There are questions on the side, on the left, and they answer this, and you can click for them. So which part is label A? So let's say roots. Okay, click on that, and then check answer. Click on answer, and then it tells you, and so on. And question 2, etc., etc. Really good website. More visuals, more visual friendly. You can also drag down this whiteboard, and you can just annotate, pick a color on the side, and then just annotate this to write your own notes, erase, etc. It's just a fancy tool, but so learning by questions really good for smaller piece of information rather than PowerPoint slides, I think. And the last thing was what was the other one was this PHET for simulation. Padlet. Padlet is a great tool. Let me share Padlet screen itself here. So Padlet is something you can create. So for instance, here, I think it's still loading. Yeah, Padlet.com. Okay, make your own Padlet. So you can just say create new. Okay, and it will let you design it. The colors, features, all that. You can play around with that from settings, but let's just say now. And then you can just label this, this is a Padlet about fractions. Okay. And then you can have a relevant background, etc. Now, you can populate this. So it's like having your lesson ready. I'm going to show you a one I created earlier. So for example, here, you can upload, for instance, here, I'm going to go on to grade 3 and 4 science. And within that, year 5 forces. Okay? You can upload any form of content here. So if I click on this plus at the bottom here, I can add, as you can see, upload a file, a link, a picture, an existing picture. I'm going to click on that plus 16, and you can see you can upload a link to your drive, a survey, screen, YouTube video link, you name it. You can upload it all here. So now I have got my lesson ready. So I'm just going to remove all these here. I've got my lesson ready.
Minal,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Your voice is not clear. Volunteers are telling. Can you close other apps? I think lot of apps are. That's why internet is little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Let me just close.
Voice is breaking.
Yeah, you're right. I've got too many tabs open here. Um,
Yes, yes.
can you? I don't know. Is it if I speak slowly? Is it better now?
No, it's still voice is breaking. Yeah.
Okay, let me stop sharing. And
Yeah. Yeah.
was it clear when I was on PowerPoint mode? When maybe
Yeah. Yeah. That time it was clear. Yeah.
okay. What I do is let's go back to. I'll let you explore Padlet. The word is it's on here on the PowerPoint. So Padlet is. I've got a screenshot of this actually. Can you hear me now? Like
Yes,
without.
yes.
Okay.
It's clear now.
Okay.
It's better now.
Okay, so this Padlet, you can pre-populate with all your, let's say, vocabulary list or an animation video, anything that you want to use in the lesson. It's your one-stop shop, and it's quite handy, and you can reuse it and save it. And so Padlet is quite good. You can also upload student work. They will love to see their work on the screen there. So yeah. Um, Yeah, so coming back to chunking, simplifying abstract concept using models, something they can, just create real objects. Just get a piece of paper, fold it, da da da, and they can touch the hands-on, basically, right? Hands-on experience. A simple model in science, like we know the resources are limited, so a balloon or plastic bottle, spoon, something, and just work around that and getting to create, just get the feel of what we mean by this concept, what is a fraction. or just creating models through cardboard, paper. This is just some example, but hands-on to simplify abstract concepts. Word wall. This is another great tool. Simple. On the classroom wall, on the side, just it doesn't, it could be just simple piece of paper, maybe stuck in, or it could be in the back of their books as well. They can create their own word wall. We're learning about plants, all the words to do with plants, any new things you have researched. Is there a plant outside your house? Do you know the name? Write it down. Word wall, all the words prove with that concept. So when you're stuck, just look at the word wall, it's there. Okay. So if it works for the whole classroom, great. Otherwise, individual word walls. Yeah, for any subject. I know I keep going back to science, but English, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, etc. Word wall for that topic. We've talked about that. Oh yeah, this one. When I was doing this the Joy of Reading program, what we did was, there's a link here where so what I did was I wanted them to be engaged in reading and develop that passion for reading. So we said, okay, let's start by writing our own stories. So they loved that. They wrote their own stories. Okay, now, next, I'm going to play a video. There are lots of regional language videos on YouTube, um, with stories, like simple animation stories, and do not play the sound on it. Just play it in mute. Stop, pause, play again. Ask them to, if it's let's say in English story. This video I was going to share, I'll leave it for now, because if it plays this sound, then a boy is on the mobile all the time, and then the parents tell him off. And so you play it in mute, ask the children to write their own thoughts on this. It just gets them to think more critically. If it's a science video, a process, evaporation is happening. You say what is happening. I'm giving you the visual tools. You describe, you narrate. Okay. So, and even without muting, rather than just playing a video, 2-minute video, the accent may not be clear, or maybe too fast. We can slow it down, but muting it gives you the power of giving that commentary over what is happening here. And that's, students will connect with you explaining rather than some foreign voice on the video, isn't it? So I just need to plug in the charger. Yeah. So always works. And they describe in their own words. Just gets them to think more creatively. Just a little tech hack I recently learned. When you are showing a YouTube video, we've got all these adverts and a bit of distraction. In the word YouTube, on the address bar, between T and U, if you put a little hyphen and then press enter, it will open up, it will get rid of all the ads. It will, on the screen, it will be just that video. Okay, so worth trying that. And then apart from that, you've got animations, and students can write their own songs from what they've understood. And just any multi-sensorial approach that helps them uh, make sense of the concept. Demos, I know we all do that. Case studies. I'll give it another 2-3 minutes, and then case studies, just an example of what is actually happening in their village, around them, in their school. I've used some examples. This is a scenario, and then give them questions. What is happening? What might have caused this? How can we address this? So they're thinking, connecting to real life examples. And then maybe they can create a model of it. You can stretch it as much as in terms of interactivity. Then there's just some more examples. Designing a playground. So go measure the playground. How can you fit this in? What games would you like to play? Do you need to draw circles? How will you draw a perfect circle? All sorts of examples to get them to create this. So yeah, redesigning playground. Just included some examples here. In English, write persuasive letter writing. We want a new library. The town, the school needs a library. Write to the principal, write to the head teacher. Persuasive writing is the focus. So rather than just give a random example, make it relevant to their scenario. And in the end, reflection. So this is me asking you to reflect, but I would like, so towards the end of a session, check with students, like here I've said, type in the chat, what barrier might the students be facing? What is one strategy you could try tomorrow? You could rephrase the question to ask the students, what is one thing about water cycle you would like to learn more about? What is one thing that you really struggle with? Write it down in your books. Time is always a constraint. So ask them to write it down in the books. Teaching assistant could take pictures, send it to you, or just discuss as a class. In the class, you could have two corners. Okay, those of you who agree with this, true or false. If you agree that there's more evaporation during summertime, move to the left of the class. Those who disagree, move to the right of the class. Moving activities, can't do that with 50 students, but if it's a smaller class, they quite enjoy that. It's more engaging. So before we go to take your questions, checklist for next lesson. Have I chunked the lesson? What are the mini plenaries I'm going to use? Real life case studies that you might want to use. How am I introducing new vocabulary? How will I check their understanding? Periodically, every 10 minutes, maybe? Is it accessible? Will a student really struggling with even reading be able to understand what forces are? Have I tried to include those activities? And just trying to make it more inclusive. And then in terms of different strategies, my next few slides are just taking you back to Mentimeter. Excuse me. Just getting you to think. I don't want to collect the answers, but just getting you to think, what is it that you will start applying next week? Okay. Excuse me. I think I'm going to stop here. I've got a couple Mentimeter survey slides, but I will pause here because I know you've got questions. Sorry, I've got a really nasty cough, but we've got about 7-ish minutes. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. I'm happy to take all the questions now. So, sorry. We have.
Yeah, so local language support availability, people are asking. Then, yeah, I think most of the question you cover. Yeah. It's okay, Minal. I think you can uh, take pause here. So thank you, Minal. I think the question is there any hacks while teaching English in Hindi medium schools? Yeah, we have done the English webinar also on this topic. So many sites, links, also PDF link we have posted. If you go announcement and the media files, you can see that file, and there is English, Hindi, mix, many website, free link, website link we have searched and posted. Okay. Yeah. So thank you, Midal, for delivering such a engaging and insightful session today. Your expertise in teaching has added immense value to our volunteers. We will be sharing the feedback form, requesting everyone to feel how the, yeah, already my teammate share, Freya. Yeah, please fill the form and share more insight with us. And thank you. With this, we are ending. Thank you, Minal. You take rest. No issue. Last, yeah, it's okay.
Not
Thank
bad.
you. So, yeah, no problem. We can understand. Yeah,
I'll come back to the questions later.
yeah. No problem. You take. Yeah, it's people are telling it's wonderful session. They enjoy. They're telling thank you. Good topic. Lot of feedback. Good feedback we got. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah. So we'll see all you in our next session, next webinar session. Thank you so much, and requesting everyone to join again.
Thank you.